Good morning, friends. This is different. Typically, I speak to you all in the evening, but this one required us to do it differently. So, good morning, all of you. A few weeks ago, Ramesh Iyengar, the founder of Tech Right Pro, reached out and invited me to join him for a conversation to mark their second anniversary of Tech Right Pro. What started off as a simple guest invitation turned into deeper reflection. What if instead of one on one chat, we created a space for multiple voices, a roundtable podcast that could amplify the questions so many leaders are quietly sitting with? So, Ramesh, thank you for the nudge, for the idea, and for the 2 years of building a platform that champions the craft of communication, clarity, and tech enabled storytelling. Congratulations on your Tech Right Pro's second anniversary, too. And may you continue to inspire many. Now, welcome to the special episode of Career Shifts podcast, Journey to the Future. Today isn't just another conversation about future of work, it is a conversation that what's quietly breaking beneath the surface of many organizations. And leaders aren't saying it aloud because behind the dashboards, the AI pilots, the endless skill building programs, there is fatigue, there is drift, there is a growing gap between what we measure and what really matters. This episode is titled Dear Leaders, Your Talent Playbook is Outdated. And no, that's not a provocation, it's an invitation. It's an invitation to pause, to reflect, to ask, are we building teams for tomorrow? Or are we still trying to fix yesterday? I'm joined today by a panel of practitioners, people who have built, led, and challenged the way we think about talent, tech, and transformation. I have Gautam, I have Dr. Shivani Gupta, I have Neerja Ganesh, I have Sushma Kiran Kanuri, I have Meenakshi Arun, and Ramesh Iyengar. I'm Gopal, the moderator for today. And today we are here not to offer frameworks, we are here to hold up a mirror. And let's dive in. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing?
Very good.
Wonderful. So, my first question is going to be for Neerja. And the question is around the whole challenging conversations that we keep having around talent. You have kind of done variety of work yourself, and you've also appeared on the podcast earlier. So welcome back is what I can say.
Thank you.
But it's very important for us to really think about, what is happening with the way things are going on, and you represent a community, especially the space of work that you're doing today is in the DEI space, and you get an opportunity to talk to a lot of leaders who are navigating this quiet disconnection. What emotional truth are you hearing, which doesn't really get spoken enough in the public forum?
Yeah. So I have two perspectives and two hats that I can talk from. Right. One, of course, my 25, 30 years. What my daughter clearly says, dinosaur era person. And also then, looking at the new age workforce that is coming in. And again, as a mother and, daughter, mother of a 23-year-old girl who's just entered the workforce. The first thing that is striking me is we all, and maybe, I can probably, say we all, even if I'm a dinosaur, maybe you are all smaller dinosaurs, younger dinosaurs.
Just by a few days. Yeah.
I think we probably just waited and hoped that things would better for us in the organization, the culture. We said, okay, let's wait for a bit. Maybe someone will come and help us out. There will be a change of leadership. Or the worst case scenario, let me wait for another job and then let me move out of this place which is not really engaging me enough. And the term here is engagement, right?
Yeah.
We don't talk satisfaction because you really can't satisfy everybody. But engagement is very, very important. If you are engaged in the kind of work, in the kind of culture, in the kind of vision that the organization has, then doesn't matter. A few things I'm sure everybody is willing to kind of let go. That's how I have seen us grown up. But the current generation doesn't really wait. And I'm not saying that they really want things quickly, but they are asking for something very, very simple. They're saying, can you hear me? Can you make me feel heard? Can you understand what I am craving for? And it may not necessarily be money and the big bonuses. It is something beyond me. I bring something to the table. Are you able to understand and appreciate that? And so I quit without a job after 25 years. Okay. It took me 25 years, and then I said, okay, now I'll take a plunge and then I'll figure out what I want to do. It was 25 years. I was backed by a good back balance, I should say. And then I took that risk, and then I figured my way out. Today's generation is not really even looking for that. If they are not getting what they want in terms of sheer acknowledgement, forget appreciation, acknowledgement of the fact that I have brought you into the organization, you are offering all of this. Maybe there is a long way for you to go. You have to learn a few things and contribute, but you're here. Even that acknowledgement, if they are not feeling it, they quit. So many of my daughter's friends, my daughter comes and tells me, she just quit without a job, ma. And they're willing to look, be there for 6 months, 9 months, looking out for something which is going to be very different to what they have experienced in their organizations, right? So I think that is bottom line. And I'm saying this because I was also on another podcast with my own daughter, where the question was asked was, what do you think about our performance management systems? Let's not go into it today. There's a lot that we can talk about, but I'm realizing
we need more series of podcasts on that.
Yeah, we have not changed. From when I started to when I quit to now, it's 8 years since I moved out of the corporate workforce. And the leaders here can probably, debate that out if things have changed, but it is still the same, right? The typical bell curves, and hence I have to fit you somewhere, and so I fitted you here. And what my daughter told in that conversation to the host was, can you just treat us as humans before you make us a number on the curve? So that's what I'd like to start with. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirja. Really, really powerful. I think what we are not realizing is the fact that today, and we have spoken enough about this, the fact that today we have at least 3 to 4 generations, or maybe even 5 in certain cases, of workforces working in organizations. But we often are measuring things which are slightly not so dated or real-time updated, if I can say. We need an iOS upgrade on that for sure, if I can call that out. But let's talk to Gautam. And Gautam, you've been in the TA space for a long time now, and you're the closest to the younger talent when it comes to perhaps your engagement with campuses, perhaps your engagement with bringing people who are in their early 20s to organizations, and even for that matter, broadly. What are you seeing as things that are different today than what used to be when you started your career?
Sure. Thank you, Gopal. Taking off from what Neerja said and from what her daughter really said, I think the core truth is everybody is human today, right? Regardless of generation. So what they want is being valued, being heard, being respected. So I think that's what every generation wants, regardless of whether it's Gen Z, Gen X, our generation, which Neerja just called the dinosaur era. All of us the needs are the same. I think what has changed is, of course, opportunities have increased. Unlike before, we probably had lesser opportunities. Today, there are almost, this year we have 400 GCCs coming into India. So I think the opportunities are immense, and hence we can cull out how we want to work in a certain workplace. And that's what the newer generation is doing, right? They see the opportunity, they see that there's a fight for talent, and they're completely using the opportunity to make sure that organizations are adhering to some of their needs in terms of respect at workplace, calling out what the purpose is and all of that. Did we need it? Yes, we did. We didn't have enough opportunities, and hence we couldn't do much. We waited, like Neeraj said. But today, I think the Gen Zs and Gen Xs are able to, call that out, and we're also adhering to a lot of those nuances. They're very small nuances. Added to what I said is, being valued, being heard, being respected. There could be, the Gen Z might be asking for, I need 2 screens to work. I can't work on just one screen. I want a game. I want to play a game on one. I want to multitask, and I want to do all sorts of things. So that's what we're seeing. Are we changing our EVP for just Gen X, Gen Z? No, we're not. We're our EVP is the same for any generation which wants to come into the workforce. But in conversation, and this is the era of hyper-personalization in many ways, in conversations, we are understanding what's the need of each and every candidate and then adhering to it. That's what I would say.
Very well said. Now I'm going to move to Meenakshi. Meenakshi, you've kind of played roles in large organizations, of course, as well as played a significant role in tech. When it comes to tech, often there is a view that a lot of people have, is that there is a bit of a challenge in taking a human view to things. And that's where the so-called soft skills, but often harder skills, come into picture, right? Now, what do you think are the skills that people at the shop floor or the workplaces need and aren't really focusing enough towards building that, and how is that costing organizations at large?
Thanks, Gopal. I think, it's 26 years now, and I can tell you that everyone's talking about soft skills, becoming power skills, right?
Yeah.
And I cannot agree more, because if I had to bet on the 3 skills that will, quietly run the world in the future, starting now, it's really going to be collaboration, navigating ambiguity, and networking at scale, right? And no fancy jargon. It's just the hard stuff that we very often underestimate. So I remember, I've been leading large transformation programs in these big organizations. It's, global, huge visions, even bigger chaos. So it'll sound like a, tech initiative on the surface, but, very quickly it starts, turning into this masterclass in human behavior, right? Yeah. So, I can tell you that I worked with brilliant minds from everywhere, whether it's engineering, operations, analytics, vendors. And let's just say, aligning everyone would always feel like, you're trying to host this potluck where nobody agrees on a level, right? But everyone just comes with the spice. So there's rarely a clear playbook. You're constantly making decisions with, 60% of the data, 110% opinion, if not more. And then the only certainty is that nothing will go as planned, right? So I think, what really has saved us time and again in those, each of those big programs is collaboration, right? And it's not those, calendars full of meetings, cutting into your work-life balance, not that kind of collaboration, but I'm talking about the real, roll up your sleeves, let's figure this out together, even if we don't agree. That kind of collaboration. And, you have to build trust fast, across geographies, across cultures. And you just have to have that just enough disagreement to sharpen the outcome for the organization, right? That's really important. And then the navigating ambiguity piece, I would say, is, that really became our daily cardio, because we got good at knowing, how to move forward even when the map is missing, right? And very often your map will be upside down, and you really have to figure out, how do you read this thing, and which way are we going, and who's actually in which direction, right? It's really bad. So then I would say my favorite is really the networking at scale. And if you ask me, that's actually code for who do you know that can help us to unblock now, right? And otherwise you have all these critical parts that get impacted. So sometimes your most valuable team member is not even in the team, right? There's someone that you had coffee with 6 months ago. So I would say that if we are still betting at this point of time on domain skills, technical brilliance, just that, then I think good luck to all of us. It's not going to work. The real edge is in this right from now all the way through the next decade. It belongs to those people who can really co-create, right, with people who think differently from them. You have to be able to stay calm, when the plans go sideways, because they always will. And then you have to build those human bridges faster than org charts catch up, right? And let's face it, the leaders in 2030, the employees of 2030, are not going to be the people who know it all. They will be the people who know who to call, how to listen, and also how to laugh while figuring it out, right? I cannot emphasize that enough. So to summarize, I would say that it's really collaboration, being able to navigate that ambiguity, and definitely, upping up your networking at scale.
And,
Very well
I
said.
can't keep my mouth shut when it is networking. So let me just add one bit. So I heard Lalita Ahuja, the CEO of Ansar, Gautam already spoke about 400 GCs. I mean, the number can be whatever, but we know it is going to be an era of
It's anybody's
GCs.
guess.
Yeah. At a 3AI conference where Samir asked him, he just asked, I mean, you are bringing up GCCs, right? If there was one leadership trait that you had to pick in a future GCC leader, what would that be? And it was not, I'm sure it was not a prepped question. Like, he just put him on the spot. And without blinking an eyelid, Lalit said, influencing without authority. That's exactly what Meenakshi is saying. How do you influence without authority? It is the networking. It is networking, right? How do you ensure that you are able to drive the outcomes, whether you are in an authoritative position or not? Nobody listens to authority today, but when you don't have authority, even then, how are you able to get those outcomes? It is that. So yeah, well said, Meenakshi. I agree. +1.
Very well said. True. Now that both of you spoke about this, and I'm going to go back to Gautam on this one because it's a question that is bothering me. I often hear a lot of hiring leaders say that, I want the person to have this skill, that skill, almost as if they want 100% match. Now, we all are, belong to a generation in many ways, and not at the risk of not sounding that we are all dinosaur age, as Nirja said, we believe that we should hire for attitude and not for skill. Skill is something that we can, of course, continue to groom people on. Has that changed? Has something changed on the ground for people to become very picky and choosy about the kind of talent that they are looking for?
Okay, so this has been my usual take on talent, right? So I'll tell you a little bit of what my core belief is about talent. I think talent of the past has predominantly been about muscle power. Today, it's about brain power, and tomorrow, it's going to be about the heart. So if you have the heart in the right place, you're here to stay, right? So in the age of AI and ML and all of those things, I don't think so there's any AI and ML which can be uniquely human. So I think, and there's no AI ML which can replace connection, courage, empathy, for sure. So I believe that if we are, today, of course, we're hiring for brain power. And of course, it's a fallacy we sell that you have to have the right kind of a resume, because it is about skill. And I think we have to look at skills more than anybody's resume today, because you can write anything on a resume. I think for the future, we have to look at not just technical skill, but what kind of person you are, like from an empathy standpoint, from a way of influencing without authority, from a way of connecting and networking, and from in terms of courage of taking decisions and all of that, right? So that's the future of talent, is what I totally believe, and that's what we need to start concentrating on.
Well said. To all the viewers, listeners who are watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, I'm sure this is a great conversation that you all wanted to hear. Feel free to share your questions in the comments, and I will pick them up and share it. Ask the right speaker as well for their views. If you have a specific question for any of them, please feel free to share that. And I think we lost someone. We lost Gautam. We'll wait for him to come back. The next question for you is on Dr. Shivani. The whole world is buzzing AI, and we don't seem to be really stopping at anything at all at the end of the day, right? I mean, we continue to use that in different way. And through the work that I do, I work with academia, I work with corporates. It's no longer about just talking about AI, knowing AI, but also using it mindfully, skillfully. So one of the things that I really wanted your perspectives on is, are we replacing our definition of talent because of AI? Because I also hear a lot of chatter about this from people that we don't need junior resources anymore. AI can do that work very well. So are you seeing that? Are you seeing that change affecting people in the way the work is getting done? And is AI rewriting what could be good job?
Is my internet patchy or Gopal's?
We are all great. I think I think your internet, Dr. Gupta.
Yeah.
All right. So I think thanks, Gopal. I heard most of the question. Thanks for having me. First of all, congratulations to Ramesh and team for completing 2 years. Amazing. I think if a startup survives for 2 years, it's nothing better than that, right? Because that's the most critical part of anyone's, even if it's a child or a company. So great work. Great question, Gopal. I think, we have crossed that era where we used to talk a lot about AI, but now it is getting implemented and we are seeing success of where it is getting utilized also. So that era is crossed, and as you rightly said, that the new era is how do we utilize the talent and AI together to make our things better for future. And that's the place where this generation or where we are as a leader or the youngster who are joining the companies are going to face that challenge, that what is the right skill for them, one, to enter in any corporate world and even survive and probably thrive at a later stage. So when we used to probably 2 or 3 years back, till it was like technical skill used to be the highest, used to take the highest, you can say, capability perspective, that if you're good in hard code skills, your coding skills or knowledge about 1 or 2 tools, that used to be pretty good to enter in any of the corporate world. Now that is taken care by a lot of AI tool to start with. What you can bring is more, as I think Gautam said or Meenakshi said or Neerja said earlier, is the soft skill, where how one, the learning capability. AI also is learning, but can you learn how to utilize the AI in a faster way? Right? All the GPUs, all the, you can say, NLU softwares are doing very good. But if you are able to use them in a faster way, that's the ability what you require today. But you need to be good in at least one tool to start with, because that is the base which is going to be helpful for you to learn faster in the future. Now that era is gone, what we have seen, or dinosaur edge, as Neerja said, that it's not about learning or probably being expert in a couple of tools, but how fast you can learn the new tool, that is going to be the decisive factor. That one tool is not, if you have worked with 50 tools, that shows your capability to learn, adopt, and implement in a fast pace. So that is going to be the key skill, that how efficient you are to adopt it. And as Meenakshi said, that the soft skills which are coming big time in this ecosystem, right? How do you do a critical thinking? How do you do your communication with colleagues, your collaborative space? How you are able to build those abilities which we have learned after multiple years, but now that is going to be pretty strong. The basic leadership quality, better collaborative space, and also how are you connecting the AI tools for your betterment? People are not going to be judged you on the basis of how many codes you have written, but people are going to be judged you how many solutions you have put in production and draw the business value out of it, right? Business value used to be probably a L3's job in the past, but now it is going to be the L1 job, where people are going to be responsible. If you are working on a project, what value are you drawing? Which is a good, because it's not that difficult to learn. People can still learn it and utilize the AI tools there to help them out in the process. But it's a different changing environment where people are expecting value to come from even you can say intern and the first year, you can say a person who has joined the organization. And if you see that psychology is going to play a big role, AI and psychology is one space which is going to get bigger and bigger. People or students who are you can say in college right now, they should bring up that as one of the skill, because it's a psychological game in corporate world now, where you have a lot of tools which can do things. If you are able to utilize the good aspect of psychology, you will be able to do things much better in the future. That's my thought to start with.
I can't agree
Thank
more.
you so much.
Raji. It's very, very true. Very, very well said, Shivani.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is already, as you were saying what you were saying, there is already a follow-up question, and I'm going to bring that up on the screen. Let's say I learn the tool in 10 days and do it. So can 15 others on the floor. Do you think we still need 16 workers on the floor as a company? If a company invests in AI, why would they need so many people?
Very good question and a very practical one. And I know in my space, I have to answer this to my bosses every day, that why you need so many folks on the floor to do this job where AI can do 90% of the things. So you have to break down the problem or a project into multiple pieces where AI can do the job, where AI is not able to do the job. Coding is you can say coding is the you can say easiest job which AI can do right now. But still, we have not reached the space where all the codes are completely running error free. Trust me, sometimes my coders say that it takes longer time to clear the errors rather than we writing it ourselves. So we have
Absolutely.
not yet reached that space where we can remove coders and use the AI blindly. That will come probably 2 or 3 years down the line, but we are not yet there. So getting the code which is directed by AI, cleansing them and utilizing them is still a task which our juniors do today. And then collaborating what is not easily available, directly available in your coding space. So that is another work which we do. So it's not that you are going to be replaced because there is AI. You have to learn how to collaborate with multiple tool of AI also. If one chat GPT is giving you one code which is not working, you have to probably go and search, dig something else which is working, and then work around with it. So use AI as a tool for yourself, rather than saying that okay, you can't you just need to replace the AI with the you can say a person. So that's the approach I give to my seniors when that question comes often with our thing. And we have created a kind of a cheat sheet that if a project required 50 steps, how many steps can be replaceable by AI? Then you don't need to get into that discussion that, okay, what about others? Because others are very, very humanly driven. And as I was saying, that when the value is one thing which is coming in terms of judging the people, business knowledge is another thing which is coming into the picture. Earlier, the first year or 2 years, you can say L1s never used to have that business knowledge, but that is required now for them to create the value, which has been kind of a you can say assessment factor for each one of them. So they need to learn business as well as the soft skills, what we have discussed earlier, for them to be a kind of a non-replacement entity on the floor.
If I can add, there is something that all the younger people entering the workforce should keep in mind. AI can automate certainty, right? I think that's a very powerful thing to keep in mind. And to what Shivani said, we are more and more uncertain in business dynamics today, right? So there is no way AI is going to go and automate every single thing. And to the question which said, do I really need 16 people as before? Maybe not for that specific task or job. But those 16 people are going to find something to do where human wisdom is going to be more important than automation with AI. I think that's what we should come back to again and again. And I think Shivani articulated it very well, saying that, if you can break up the steps where AI can contribute effectively, assisting humans, then what is it that a human will now be free to do, which is higher order thinking, right? That's the way I would look at it.
I think very well articulated, Meenakshi. Just to add to her point, see, whenever there was a drastic change in technology when computers came, or when auto rickshaw came, or any machine came into the picture, people were thinking that, okay, what will happen to the folks who are doing that job? It's not that people have got unemployed. You need to have a zeal to learn the new tools which are coming. All the rickshaw drivers become auto drivers very soon, right? It was just a training phase which was difficult, but it was easy. Why we are worried about AI? Because earlier all the machines used to do the mechanical job. What is AI doing? It is challenging our brain power. It is challenging our ability to think, and that is the place where we are not very you can say confident, and we don't want to let go that space from the human being. So that's the reason AI is much more powerful, much more you can say challenging in this era. Next generation has to face more, but if a leader is good, they will use AI as amplifier rather than replacement. I would say that as a closing thought.
And just to add to what Shivani said, right? Like I think in the talent acquisition space, and it's been one of the most disruptive spaces in the HR world, where you've seen a lot of automation and AI involvement. Like when I joined the workforce, it was almost receiving snail mails from people with resumes and envelopes and looking at them, and right, and then it went on to 24 pages accent newspapers with jobs, and then moved on to job portals. From there moved on to passive hiring, and then today my talent acquisition partners don't even need a sourcer, right? There are agent AIs doing that for them. And then, what a talent acquisition partner is doing today is the higher level thinking, right? Is how to partner, where do you actually need this resource, all of those things. So I can clearly see that as an example for what Dr. Shivani just said.
I agree, Gautam, and I think I agree to the point with Neerja said that we all belong to, I think, dinosaur ages, where we have seen probably 4 or 5 generation of technology changes in our lives. Okay. Good.
Yeah, and just to add on that, right? So in the current space, we have seen the actual skill life has moved. Earlier, maybe it was like 5 years. Probably now it keeps changing pretty often. And I think rather than getting married to the tool set in the ways of working, I think it's extremely important for us to understand the business context, like how Shivani has said, right? So without having the business knowledge, without knowing what are we trying to do with respect to the strategic objectives that we want to achieve, I think the solution that we might build technically will actually fail. So that's where I think the pillars of human intelligence, so more than AI replacing us, probably we have to work along with the AI, in terms of how do we leverage that capability to build the solutions.
Yeah. I feel we will create enough problems for ourselves to keep busy solving them. Well, there's a question that has come in, and I think it's an interesting point for us to also pivot into that area, which is all of us. If I were to categorize all of us right now in the space of mid-career professionals for a moment. There is leadership at one side where there is stakeholders, shareholders. Everyone wants profitability, higher numbers, efficiency, transformation. And on the other side, we have the so-called younger generation, people coming in with their own set of demands, expectations. We kind of are somewhere in the middle, trying to balance the both. And we've been fairly effective, perhaps paying a heavy price of being fatigued, exhausted, and we'll call whatever it you want to. And we have had enough and more experiences of that, also thanks to COVID, which also tested our resilience in many ways. Now, the question that I have for you, Sushma, and then it's open for all of you basically, is what are we missing as an ecosystem or an organizational, are we not seeing people well enough to take care of them, or are we missing it out, realizing all of this ourselves, and we are not doing enough for ourselves, and thereby trying to play the balancing act by pushing ourselves way too much? Sushma, you can start, and then of course it's open question for all of you. You're on mute, by the way.
I think I have unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. So I think, before I share my thoughts, I would say that this is something which I don't see as a challenge in the current team that I've been working on, and I'll tell you the reason why. But I think the question rightly asked that, we have different levels of organizations where we have, flatter hierarchy types, and there are organizations where we have multiple hierarchy types. This remains a common challenge of where middle managers probably is that bridge, like I said, that connects your strategy to actual, connecting the team who does the actionable tasks, right? So what we do differently in my team is, I think, creating that space where they are given an opportunity to perform. They're given an opportunity to actually create that value. So how do we do that is, I think we do encourage not just the middle managers, or, we start off from our graduate trainees, where we give them a space or an opportunity to present to the senior leaderships, right? So we have like, for example, we conducted an hackathon. We do that on an yearly basis. And then some of the graduate trainees has presented to the CFO of Vodafone, right? So, and it was highly appreciated. So what this brings in is, one, it builds motivation. It instills some confidence in the team. And I think it gives an opportunity for them being seen, right? In terms of giving them a purpose. And when you push them beyond their roles and responsibilities, in terms of understanding the overall organizational goals and objectives, and also being part of the decision making, right? We have to involve them so that they understand what the organization is trying to achieve, so that they can set it pretty clearly with the team below them, right? So this is where it comes a very good handshake between how they're trying to translate the strategic objectives into the actual actionable tasks, right? But having said that, I think what we are lacking there is, in terms of, everyone has to embrace that curiosity and learning. I think we have spoken about that. It's a constant thing. Probably, back in 2000s, whatever job titles were there, probably, we don't even know few of the job titles that exist today back in 2000, and the change with how the skills have been changing, the life cycle of it, and pretty soon we keep changing on the skill set. I think it's important for us that, we embrace the curiosity and learning, and as leadership, we need to mentor them, right? In terms of giving them the space, that opportunity to create that. And also, empowerment here is not a perk, right? So we kind of create a performance strategy where we start with saying probably a simple word that, I believe in you. That's where it starts, and then we give them an opportunity to perform in the multiple spaces. Yeah.
Thank you, Sushma. Others, any thoughts? Is this how it manifests, or have you heard other realities as well?
I think I have a mixed feeling in this space when I was myself in the middle management, and some organizations really take the step what Sushma has done for her own, and I think we agree to that it is limited to very small portion of organizations, especially higher managers, right? Organization only defines the probably you can say strategy or organizational level things, but it comes down to your manager. How do they appreciate your work? How do they make you feel part of the bigger picture, and how much they support you in that journey? It's not very common, to be very frank. I have worked with many organizations, I have worked with many managers, but very few, I can count them on my fingertips, who have actually done that job for me, to getting that appreciation if I have done a good job, right? So that is one thing which certainly requires more, you can say, more as not just a person's choice, but as an organization mandate to bring that to everyone's attention if people are doing good job. And with Gen Z coming into the picture, that is going to be the key driving thing if we really want to make them survive and make them utilize it. They are not worried about how much work they are getting. Yes, it is important, but if they are not getting appreciated, they are not getting heard, they are not getting part of the bigger picture, I don't think we will be able to make use of Gen Z or any other generation which are coming after that. So it's important for us to fix these loose ends as more from a senior leadership perspective, so that that is not getting reflected when it is a very high demand in the future.
I'd like to add to that. I think Shivani is right. I think because, the organ, it also depends on.
Effortlessly record your voice and see it instantly transcribed into text. Whether capturing first
Not
notes on
sure where it is coming from.
brainstorming ideas or
Are
organizing,
you muted?
Speak App streamlines your thoughts into written
All right.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so
That's AI. Go ahead.
So to actually, Neerja brought up a good point where she was talking about how the current generations, the younger generations, they don't have time to, they don't want to wait, right? And I think to what Shivani was also saying, there is a very intense need, not for visibility, not that just being seen, but they want to feel very connected that what they're doing is important, right? They need to understand purpose, and they get extremely, I would say, anxious when that is not clear to them. So I think that if we look at it as, what's a big trigger point, also to our reference to our dinosaurs, I think Neerja also said that, we were willing to wait, right? We were just waiting for things to happen. Somebody will tell you what to do, and you just moved along, right? The day after day, you just, did whatever your managers told you, etc., and grew up. That's not the case today, right? And I think it's a good thing. That's a really good thing, because at least in the environments I've worked in, I think it has helped managers, senior employees to also keep their brain sharp, right? You need people who continuously challenge you to feel that the org as a whole is progressing. So I would say that it's what's happening right now is excellent for all of us as leaders, as employees, to think beyond what we traditionally see as org structures and the ways to operate, etc. Right? And I think there's a bigger collective good that's happening if we just choose to embrace it rather than resist it.
Yeah, and on that point,
Go ahead.
yeah, so no, on that point, right? So there are two parts to that. One is working with this multi-generation, with Gen Z and, satisfying their needs. The other thing is, I think now we work globally, we work with people with different cultures. I think it's also important to understand the different multicultural aspect with 400 GCCs that Gautam did mention, right? It becomes extremely important of how do we navigate our communication with all those different cultural people. So just to quote an example, right? When I used to work back in Germany, I can't just go walk to a room and say, I need your help for 2 minutes. I can't even ask that for 2 minutes because they have a well-planned schedule. They set it up all, upfront, and you need to set up something in their calendar and go. Whereas in India, I think I can just walk up and ask, and we're ready to push back our work and support whoever is trying to come to us. So I think we need to understand that behavioral aspect as well.
I was just
I
going to
think
say,
I would just like to add to what Meenakshi said. The connect part, I think, is the most important thing, I think, which we are missing. I think over a period of years, I think somewhere by chasing numbers and KPIs and performance indicators, we have somewhere kind of lost in this journey to recognize the most crucial and the critical part, that is the humans. As they say, people are the prime movers. They are the soul of organization. But unfortunately, over a period of time, we have lost that connect. And somewhere we already see that people are not really engaged. They are really not as productive as we envision, or things are really not happening as we expect. Also, of course, there's a lot of disruption, and there's a lot of things that we are chasing strategically. But at the same time, the big picture, the holistic picture, we are not really able to articulate, or we don't get employees to align with it. And somewhere there is a lack of meaning and purpose, and which is the most important thing. And that is where being a communication professional, I would say communication is very, very important. Though with all the advancement in technology, with all the communication tools available today, still we feel that the employees are somewhere feeling isolated. They feel lonely in spite of whatever they do. They don't really feel connected. And I think that's a very important aspect. Like Meenakshi said, the connect is very important. The leaders need to articulate what they are really planning. The employees need to really engage in terms of really understanding what they are doing is really aligned with the company goals. Are they really adding value? Whatever they are doing, is it meaningful, and so on. And of course, communication, I think, is very, very critical. We all understand that most of the organizations fail when communication really doesn't happen at the right level, right? So I think Meenakshi kind of really touched upon the core of this entire discussion, which is like, the connect, or, focusing on the employees or the human aspect. I just wanted to add to that.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Over
I
to-
really appreciated that. I think there is a question that I have on communication specifically, but I'll wait before I complete the point on this one with Neerja specifically. I'm still not very convinced, to be very honest, about if enough is being done to manage the workplace dynamics. Through the coaching conversations that I've had, most of the leaders today are struggling with the fact that there is too much of toxicity at work. While that may not be the case in larger, very good culture driven organizations, but there is a reality, and that's a significant number, to be very honest. Again, I'll come back to the question also with a flavor of specifically, are workplaces even designed for inclusion to really exist? What are your views on that, Neerja?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a 80-20 rule, or maybe 70-30 rule, and I would like to say that the bigger number is the good one. The cultures are good, and we're kind of building up the ecosystem so that everyone thrives. But there is also a number, definitely, where toxicity, if you want to call it that, exists. Even if the larger organization is trying to build a culture, there will always be 1, 2, 3 people, leaders, and they push through. And the damage that they cause to the people around them is immense. It can actually snowball into the rest of the organization, hearing that, people outside the organization hearing that, and what damage it causes then to, the entire branding and the image of the organization is a big worry. But it exists. And you're right, when so many people come to me to get guided, mentoring, coaching, whatever, a lot of them actually hear me on, say, a podcast, or, when I'm doing a group session, which might have been hosted by the organization, but two people from there will come after the session and say, Nirja, I want to have a one-on-one. And it's because they could not ask that question in that forum.
Yeah.
I try to build, when I do long-term leadership journeys, 6 months, 12 months, they are sitting together on a Slack channel or a WhatsApp group. No one converses on that group. They will speak to me separately, right? So there is that fear. And that fear is obviously coming from a particular behavior. It could be a dominating behavior, it could be a bossism, it could be, maybe silencing the ones who may be the quieter lot, but it exists. So I think if I were to reflect on why it exists, somewhere I think it is probably the insecurity that leader or the person is feeling. And insecurity in, if I were to enable the person under me to learn, to perform, to try out new things, then he or she may, replace me. Okay, forget AI replacing. There's always, because I'm again saying maybe the younger lot is much quick, adaptable, flexible, and going all go and, picking up and trying out new things. So it's that insecurity. And I think that's something that we will have to tackle. Maybe all of us have to reflect that things are changing at a speed that we can't even imagine. And if we have to stay relevant and stay there, let's embrace it. Why are we feeling insecure that somebody else will, walk over us? Because it will happen eventually. I mean, how long can you survive? I'm not saying thrive. Can you survive by enabling toxicity, in the organization or in the space that you are leading? That's what I want to tell the leaders. Let's start learning. And for myself, Gopal, I'm thinking AI for me as a coach. It took me a while to actually embrace it. I'll be very honest. Okay. There was a time when I was anti-social media, and now I'm all over social media. So I was anti-AI, and now it was one conversation, I think, in one of the conferences, where this person said, agentic AI is there, you rather befriend it, otherwise it's going to kind of just go ahead. Whoever befriends it, it will take them, and you will stay behind. It really kind of knocked me out, right? So I'm thinking, okay, there is GPT as an example. People will go to GPT and get all answers. So why do they need a Nirja to get the answers? But if I were to kind of build a Nirja GPT, maybe they'll go to a Nirja GPT and not a usual GPT. And then they will come to me as a person, after that. So you have to find ways to still stay relevant, which is true. So you can't be insecure and, keep bad-mouthing the whole system. So to the people who are experiencing that, my only piece of advice is please speak up. See, throwing it all up and going out can be a solution, but you don't know outside also how it's going to be in the other organization that you end up, if you do, how good or bad it's going to be. So I definitely encourage people to speak up. It is important. So I would advise you to speak up. There will be some ways that the organization has, your HR, your ERGs, and all other systems that are there through which you can ring the bell if there is a lot of toxicity. Don't keep it within you and say, okay, fine. Because I think as a person, we are responsible not only for ourselves, but the rest in the organization, right? So if something is happening to us, I'm sure there are 10 other people who are going through that. So if you decide to speak up, it will help the others too. So those are the two things that I would like to say.
And I have a follow-up question on that, Meenakshi, and probably you can also reflect on this. We speak about psychological safety. We speak about creating environments where people are feeling insecure, but it often is spoken as if the person getting insecure is wrong. Most of us do. We aren't training our people well enough of what to do or what not to do so that the other person is not feeling insecure. Who has the onus of that? I mean, is it something that organizations have to keep spending millions of dollars training people on creating psychological safety, but it doesn't really, I mean, we're perhaps also not talking to both the parties. We are talking only to one party. Any views on this and overall psychological safety aspect?
I would definitely say that, I think the last couple of decades, we've started seeing global cultures mix a lot, right? Traditionally, I would say, speaking for most Indians, we tend to avoid raising a problem. It's in our nature to not be the bad person, right?
Yeah.
Whereas we probably see that a little more straightforward with some of our maybe European counterparts and so on. So I've had the experience of working with cultures across the globe, and I can tell you that it is always much easier to get straight to the point and express, to what Nirja was saying, what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, because it's something you own, right? And nobody can contradict what is it you're feeling. So say it, and then there could always be another story, right? Maybe you were part of the misunderstanding because of something you didn't say, which is something we see very often. But I do want to talk about one of the things that Nirjat spoke about as well, about as leaders, what can we do? I think, the first reaction for most employees when they face situations like this is they come to the leader or, the manager or whoever is a little higher in the chain and expect them to solve it for them, right? I think the first thing we can do better as leaders is to coach them how to solve it for themselves.
Correct.
And that's something that I learned very long time back. Fortunately, I had a absolutely stellar boss who actually, there was a situation where two people went to him with, equal complaints about each other, and he listened to both of them. And then, next day morning, first thing, there's a meeting with him, and suddenly you realize that he's pulled both of them into the meeting, and he's sitting back and telling them, "Now solve it. I'm just going to sit and listen to you." So do that, right? You actually force them, and then I think those two people became finally best friends at the workplace, right? But it's all about I think our insecurity also comes from, what if I'm not accepted? What if the other person will not listen? What if I am proven wrong? So I think that's something that we need to keep coaching people to stand up for themselves, also be empathetic, right? I think Gautam brought that out several times. Empathy is about understanding why somebody else reacted the way they did. Maybe you didn't give them enough information as well. So I think that's very, very important for us to keep coaching. And I do want to, one last point, which I do want to bring up here. Gautam referred to the avalanche of the 400 GCCs, right? While that's great, economic growth and all of that, I think, and I'd love to hear from the rest of you, the insecurity stems from many things, right? On one side, people are afraid about AI taking jobs globally. The other side is when you have these kind of GCCs, we are very excited to start with because it's happening here in India. But it means that there's a ton of other people in other countries that have that insecurity that their jobs are going away. So toxicity really starts spiraling when, again, people feel that you are the biggest risk in their lives. You are going to take away their career. So I think it's important for all these GCC leaders to do two things. One is coach their employees here to ensure that they're ready to take on, first of all, the environment that they'll be working in. And then the other thing is keeping toxicity aside, the fact of what we spoke about, purpose, right? This generation that you're going to be employing in those GCCs does not want to work on what nobody else wants to work on, right? They want to work on the core thing. They want to work on what's strategic. They want to see purpose. So it's really going to be important for all of us in countries like ours, where we are not seen as the back office. We are not seen as doing the work just because we have more people or we are faster or whatever it is, but we are there to do the work because we are good at it, right? I think it's a very important cultural shift that we need to make when we set up systems, set up environments, and that in a large way will take care of some of the toxicity. because you stand for a purpose, you stand for what you believe in, and you're ensuring that's the kind of environment your employees also will have.
Very well said. Now that brings a very interesting point and the question where Ramesh can have enough and more to share, which is communication. Often underspoken, experienced, in many ways, not really given the due respect and credit. But that's where exactly things break. Inability to communicate between the two people, superiors, or your peers or your juniors, leads to ineffective delegation and a lot of it, right? And today we are also talking about leaders who are supposed to be great at storytelling, great at inspiring generations across, without excluding any one generation in particular. Ramesh, what are your views on where we stand and the state of affairs in terms of communication across the organizations, and what is it that we can do to change it?
Yeah, thank you, Gopal, for that question. Before I really answer, I would just like to take a minute to thank you all for being on this panel as part of Right Pro's second anniversary celebrations. We have an esteemed panel. I would like to thank Neeraja for reaching out to all and making this happen. And thank you to Career Shifts and Gopal for making this podcast happen. My sincere thanks and gratitude to you all for sparing your valuable time today, especially on a weekend, Saturday morning, and talking to us and sharing your insights on such an important topic that's future of work and talent. And I'm sure all our members, the audience, and community members are really going to benefit from this discussion. And so far, I've been really listening, and I've learned a lot through the various things that you guys have shared. And thank you so much for being here today. So to answer Gopal's questions, the way I look at it is the current generation really needs more of autonomy, and they need more of empowerment. I think one notion that we really need to retire is the one that of experience, right? So if you look at any job description or if you look at any opportunities, the first thing that I see is so many years of experience is required. But unfortunately, like as Meenakshi also said, it's very important to understand about what the current generation is really looking for. We really don't try to look out for attitude and the passion, which I think is the most important thing. And I don't think we have adequate systems to really measure that or to really tap the potential. I think potential is the key, or the attitude or the passion is the most important thing. So I think if leaders can really find out ways how they can identify the potential, attitude, and the passion, a lot would change in terms of the kind of work that they do or the contributions or the value. So they are really looking for control. They are looking for control in what they do, in what they contribute. They would like to be positioned strategically. They need a table and a chair where they can sit and talk to leaders and contribute to, at a strategic level. That's what they are looking for. And I think in terms of empowerment, that's what really leaders need to do. I think that's where we need to really pay attention as to how we can enable the environment, because what happens is traditional hierarchies kind of stifle the environment at times. They are not able to openly share their ideas, they're not able to communicate and so on. And as a reason, they feel very restricted. And I think as leaders, empowerment is the key thing that we really need to focus on. The next thing that I think is communication. I think as Neeraja and Meenakshi and even Shwan mentioned, the trust factor is also very important. And the only way we can establish trust is through communication, because in a world of social media, in a world of a lot of narratives, storytelling, and so on, or brand spins and other things, somewhere the core values or the core things that really connect people, has to be really done. And of course, I think Gautam will know because he's involved in talent acquisition and all of that, and the narratives that typically happen in terms of attracting talent, right? So people need to feel connected. People need to feel connected to the culture. That is very important. And I think communication is a very important aspect here. The more the leaders communicate, I think it will help in terms of connecting, because in a world of FOMO, the fear of losing out, constantly tracking things and other things, somewhere they are directionless. They don't know where to really go for. And if we are able to articulate a vision, our goals very clearly, I think that would do a great service to the employees in terms of getting clarity, which is what effective communication is all about. And thereby, of course, it will align them, and of course, productivity will happen, and the numbers will happen. So, as I always say, things that really count cannot be counted all the time, and things that can be counted cannot count all the time, right? So as Einstein has said, so there are a lot of things that happen beyond the delivery, that there are a lot of things that happen beyond the numbers, right? There are a lot of subtle nuances. There are people who cannot be champions, but they are holding the ship. They are contributing very effectively. They are kind of, holding the team together. They are doing a lot of innovation very quietly and silently, but unfortunately, they don't get recognized. And that's where my next point is: recognition is very important. And we see that there's, not much or adequate recognition that's really happening in organizations. There are people who contribute a lot. They burn the midnight oil, they work for 24 hours or 72 hours also at times. But what really happens is a kind word, a small note, an encouraging note can do wonders to them, which doesn't really happen, right? And they are always craving for that. That craving is what, like Meenakshi said, the current generation wants meaning and purpose, and that's what I think leaders can give, and that's what they're really missing out. Of course, the other aspects, like the wellness, we all know about the work-life balance and all of that, but we also do understand that if we overdo the work part, it's going to disrupt certain things on your personal level. So it's very important that we also need to focus on the wellness aspect, and that is where the various things that we talk about, like the hybrid work model or work from home and all of that, and also the trust factor. If leaders and managers start trusting their team members and believe in what they are contributing, I think some of these issues can be resolved. I mean, I have seen a lot of employees who really do well, but the managers do not trust them. I mean, if they say, I have to work from home, they will ask multiple questions to them to ascertain, are they really doing the work and stuff like that. So somewhere you feel, there's no trust, and it definitely affects your work. It definitely affects what you bring to the table. So I think the flexibility and the belief in your team member is very important. These are some of the things I think is very important that we need to understand and recognize. And I think we should look at as enablers, because primary leadership is all about empowering, and that is what we should focus on. Is what I feel.
Thank you so much, Ramesh. Yes, thank you. Some really great comments coming in, people congratulating you on your anniversary as well. And Balakrishna saying you have touched upon few very important topics, but just stop short of saying storytelling is not the only thing. So through that, thank you. We are in the final round of questions, and I have a question for all of you. And I'm picking up from what Ramesh just said. Which is the world of work that we are today living in is, for lack of better word and overly used word, hybrid. We also have paid a huge price of being hybrid. While there could be great benefits of it. Where I see this manifesting in many ways is when team members don't gel well. And it is because a lot of people haven't even seen themselves, seen their team members over several months. And in last year's SHRM conference, one of the comments and wonderful presentations made by Shiv Kumar was, where is that office friend that we are talking about? We have lost them. We used to have a lot of office friends in the past. Are we creating environments for office friends for future generation? So the question that I have for all of you is, the world now is hybrid. The ways of working is hybrid. What are things that people across, and this is not a particular generation, but people across need to do differently to survive and thrive in this new ways of working? And anyone can go with it.
I'll go first. So yes, we need people. Please understand that AI can be a good friend. Yesterday I was in a session where they said, AI is my family. Okay. People were saying that. AI is my family. AI empathizes with me. If I say I'm going through smooth swing. I suddenly, I think yesterday or day before, when I was putting something into GPT, it suddenly said Nirja, and it gave me a huge description about Nirja Ganesh. And I think 2 days ago, everybody who was on GPT got their description and a fantastic description about them. So of course, it is that friend. It's really going to say good things about you. But people are important. But what I would like to say is we have also survived, and many of us have thrived through the pandemic. We did. And Gopal, you know about this community called Shri Mantra, and you met some of them at Bhavnatur's event, right? Kavita, Chitra, and all of us. We started this community of women solopreneurs in 2020, as in Shilpa Advani started. And she brought in all, through reference, women solopreneurs, because she felt that if big businesses are struggling, then what would, solopreneurs and women solopreneurs be going through? So she started an online community, which today, I don't even know, 600, 700 of us globally exist. And what we did in 2020 was we would meet twice a month virtually as a formal thing. Then, we could do whatever informally we wanted. Formally, one was called as a coffee connect. And one was called as a learning connect. It was only that. We connected over coffee virtually. Each of us may have had a coffee, but there was a particular informal topic that we would talk about. There was still a topic. And the learning was about, because we are solopreneurs, so let's talk about branding, marketing, sales, pitching, whatever, because there was some commonality in the way that we work that virtually. I will tell you, I have some of my best friends today from that community.
True.
Right? And Gopal, you tried calling me that night and I said I was having dinner out, right? It was with them. So the point I'm trying to make is that even if we are in a hybrid world, and fully hybrid, because some organizations do support, you can be totally remote. You got to take that time to connect with people virtually like this. I think we bonded fantastically over this conversation, right? Some of us knew each other from the past, many of us didn't know, but I think after this, we can make efforts to do a one-on-one chat, meet up, on things like that. Absolutely. So it is that effort. I think the organizations can support that effort by, like Shimantra did, by saying twice a month, Coffee Connect and a Learning Connect, something of that sort, even in a hybrid environment, if the organizations can do. And then for people, because that's how I tell people to network. Get out of your comfort zone. You can't always be in a conference to network, right? We just kind of find some person, message them, get on their calendar and have a conversation. And then you take it, if possible, in person. If it is another city, I'm sure you'll probably travel to that city sometime and you can kind of hit up that person and say, let's have a real coffee. So that is important. So hybrid is here to stay, I guess. I don't know. Gautam, tell me whether, it's going away. I think companies are trying to make it all 5 days, but I don't think it's happening. So it is there.
Not in Bangalore for sure.
Anywhere. Not anywhere.
A lot of organizations 5 days as mandate, but what is going to be the repercussion of that, we will see in
We'll see.
coming
True that.
3
So
months
I
and
think both ways
years. But
again, if organizations can try and build those systems to still have virtually, everyone come together, smaller groups, bigger groups, one-on-ones, and then it is also onus on us if we can do that.
Yeah.
Don't go to AI for all of that. It will say good things to you, but the human connection is a must.
Yeah.
I think I take that as a pointer. AI is not going to solve the world hunger. We have to put a lot of things, our own effort to fix these small issues, right? These are just communication or connect issues, as Neerja rightly said. I don't think we require any thing from outside. Organization can mandate certain things that doesn't take things to the next level. It is human connect, human. You can say mostly if a manager is a very nice way to connect the team meetings, even on a once in a week basis, that works, right? So it's just that very small step which can take to the next level of connecting with each other altogether. But yes, we should meet with folks more often, even if it is let's say virtually we are working. I have teams working in multiple locations, but we try to meet at least once in 6 months or 1 year, so that that bonding which doesn't come by virtual meeting, what happens on the coffee talk in a corridor, that connect is different, which virtually it's very difficult to manage or build up. To be very frank, that is, coffee talk conversations are always different than what something different.
I think we miss.
Make that happen in real life as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on
Very well
that,
said.
right? So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Neerja mentioned about coffee connects, and organizations are pushing us to go on hybrid, like 2 days in office or 8 days in a month, whatever. But if we come to office and like we sit in a conference room, or the whole day we pack up with calls, right? So I think that effort should come from people that they want to make it connect. So when you are in office, at least we should keep a calendar free where you go on that coffee, you go and meet your team, you go and have that personal conversation, and that's pretty important. Not just to understand their emotions, to lead the team sometimes, which you can't identify via your virtual connect, right? When you see the person, when you see their expressions, how they're communicating, I think that gets very important. We need to take that additional effort to make the human connections.
Well said. Well said.
I have
Meenakshi, any? Yeah.
slightly mixed point of view over here, and it's coming from again cross generations that are in this hybrid environment, right? So not everybody is likely to agree with this. I need to see somebody in person to make a connect. That's probably coming from our generation, right? The newer, younger generations are happiest seeing themselves on a virtual screen. But I think the point really is about making connection, right? You don't have to, like the friend in the office that you had before. That friend, I can tell you that some of my best friends in office are not even in this country. They are people that I made friends with over time, and I don't think there's any difference to the hybrid world friendships versus the regular pre-COVID world. Because it's just like in school you hit it off with somebody that you had something in common with. You liked somebody, right? Your gut told you who you would get along with. You did the same thing in college, right? And if you just reflect and think about like, who do I stay in touch with? You stay in touch with certain people for certain reasons. It's the same thing at work, right? And I think while organizations can do all of the socials and give you the virtual the team meeting, the virtual chat, the whatever, the coffee hours or whatever it is, it's really up to each of us. And I think, again, it's a multi-generational kind of a topic. I think you should have a podcast on just that. But I think older generations and the dinosaurs tend to be able to meet more, and they take connection to heart. Whereas the more junior folks I've seen is, they're sort of comfortable in themselves, or they want their own time. So it's each to his own. But I would really say that if you are missing that friend at work, you should first check whether do you want that friend because everybody has a friend, or you're fine with it. And if you really feel you're missing that friend, then I think you need to figure out what you did not do. Right? It's a two-way thing. It's not something where people are just going to come up and say, I want to be friends with you, right? It's not kindergarten.
Sure.
So
yes,
I think very similar to what Meenakshi said, but being hybrid or non-hybrid or generation agnostic, I think what's going to be important is this very famous saying. It's about people don't remember what you said, people don't remember what you did, but people will always remember how you made them feel. Right? So I think that's going to be very, very important. I think connecting with people, trying to take that time to understand people, I'm not saying it has to be a face-to-face connection, but it can also be just a phone call to find out how you're doing in your personal life versus just understanding their story, and also making some of these decisions that you make, keeping people in the center, is going to be helpful in a hybrid world. So that's what I think is going to be important from here onwards. I've been harping on being uniquely human, but that probably comes with the profession I'm in.
There was
well said.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'll just quickly say what I was saying. Simon Sinek said, I mean, I can't not bring up Simon Sinek, right? So apparently he was talking to a friend, and he's quite vocal about his emotions, right? I mean, if you listen to him, he talks about he may have gone through a low phase, etc. He's quite open about that. So he was talking to this friend and a very good friend of his after a few months, and he said, I was going through this low phase. And the friend asked, why did you not reach out to me? And he said, I reached out. See, we did have so many calls during that phase. So she said, but you never brought this out, like, I'm going through this. And he said, no, every time we spoke about something that was happening in your life, and I thought, should I bring out, what I'm going through? So they both agreed that in future, if there is this real need to talk because you're going through a low phase or whatever, a challenge, rather than just a regular conversation, because there are so many people like Gopal, you may call me and say, today, Gopal, do you really need to talk? We can talk tomorrow, right? Because we are, on that wavelength. But maybe it was something else, and hence you had to really speak at that time. So this is, they built a code. So if you really had to talk at that point in time, then the question would be, do you have, say, 5 minutes, or do you have 8 minutes or something? They build a code. So if that's the, the initiation of a conversation to say, do you have 5 minutes? Then the other person understands this is real, this is deep, and I need to give that time. So I think, while we can really have coffee conversations, general conversations, happy conversations, or just connect conversations, we also know that sometimes people want to have a much deeper conversations. And if you're not in the office, as Sushma said, in the office, sometimes you're able to see people and feel that feeling comes. Virtually, you may not get that feeler. Maybe, build a code. I just love that, what he said. So I just thought I'd pick it out here.
Yes.
Sorry,
Ramesh.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Neerija said, and she made a very pertinent point saying that the conversations have to be deeper. So it's just not about the connect, but deeper. Like I would say, I would give an example by a lot of organizations do these pizza parties, a lot of activities and events, right? But unfortunately, you still see that people don't engage. So the pizza parties is not going to be able to attract new talent. Engage people. For example, if you're a really serious movie goer, popcorns will not attract serious movie goers. It's the meaningful content, right? So I think what is really important is the core values, the kind of culture that we build, the deeper conversations, more meaningful conversations, purpose, and the soul of it, the humans, right? And the human connect. That's what I really meant by connect in the first place. So I think Neerija and Meenakshi really added to it. And even Gautam mentioned about the experience. Ultimately, it's how you make somebody feel, That's what makes you feel a part of it, that belonging, which is so important. When I'm working, I should feel that I'm doing something for the company, I'm contributing, I'm getting recognized. If that kind of engagement is not there, we also hear a lot about people quietly quitting, and these people don't take very brash decisions, or they don't really resign or whatever, but somewhere deep down they are disengaging, they are contributing but not at the real levels, and it's actually eroding the company in a way, but nobody knows. We cannot really recognize that, and all this happens in the background, and it's not so great. And this will happen when you're not connecting and they're not engaging with the company. If you look at the bottom line, it's getting affected. So that's why that connect is really important, is what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm mindful of time. We're almost at the end of the 90 minutes that we had set out for this. But I wanted to ask this question. I typically do a rapid fire, but let's do this rapid fire differently. The topic of today's conversation is, dear leaders, your talent playbook is outdated. 30 seconds each. If there is one thing that you could change in the talent playbook, what would that be? And let's go. Anyone who wants to go first?
I can go.
Go ahead,
Maybe,
Meenakshi.
I can go. I think to this point of the talent playbook, I think was definitely written for a very different era, right? Where predictability was prized, right? And our careers were more linear. The biggest skill was about knowing the answer. And now our problems are far more complex, and as org charts get messier and messier, I think the shelf life of knowledge is also like really shrinking fast, right?
Yeah.
I would say that the one thing I would stamp on the cover of that new playbook is culture must embrace ambiguity. I think that's the most important thing. So if you want our people to thrive, we have to create cultures where ambiguity is no longer feared, right? And it's normalized, and it's ambiguity about anything. People should not be punished for not having the full answer, for speaking up. They should be rewarded for taking those thoughtful bets, for navigating the unknown, staying calm in fog, and a lot of the things that we spoke about, right? Standing up against toxicity, having the putting the greater good over self, and things like that. So I would think that as long as we embrace that, and we roll out that the I don't know, but I'm listening and I am learning. That's the focus of our the way we operate, all of us. I think that's really the kind of culture that it won't just survive disruption, it will lead through it, right? So I think that's what I would put as a how can we make sure that we are brave enough to adapt as we go?
I can do this,
The bigger picture, the bigger picture is something that everyone needs to showcase. We've probably said it all the time, but in the past, maybe it was not so relevant. I'm part of a team. You give me a task, I'll do my task, and then there are KPIs. I get scored on that. I did better than that. I got a better rating, money, bonus, etc. Right? But today, I think we have spoken a lot on purpose, and that really makes sense. If you can just draw the bigger picture of the organization, the team, and hence this individual who is today nobody fills Excel sheets, but I always used to give this example. In my days, we would get one Excel sheet to be filled, and that would be given as a responsibility to one person in the team. Go to the 20 people and get that Excel sheet filled. It was not the days of the cloud where we could just get everyone to update, right? So then go fill the 10 columns. Such a boring task. Nobody wants to do, but then you are giving it to one person. If you just change that to say, the data that we are collecting in this sheet is going to be used to make one big decision. It could be the next offsite, or it could be whether I want to get back to work or in the office or hybrid, whatever. It's a big ticket item, right? If you could just tell them the data in this Excel is going to be used to make that decision. Everyone is willing to contribute. And in fact, they're going to say, I think I'm missing 2 columns here, right? So that's what big picture does in terms of people's engagement, contribution, performance, and hence the innovation comes and the outcomes of the that the organization also drives. So I think in the new playbook, or the same playbook, but just bold, underline that can we show the big picture to everybody every day, and things will just go fine.
I think wonderfully said by Meenakshi and Nirja. I'll just add probably 2-3 points which I feel we give importance, but those are not the primary important factors when we are into a talent space. Mostly attitude, I think we do that test very late in the journey, but can that be first layer of assessment also? I'm sure it will happen a few years down the line, but that needs to give more, you can say, respect as early as possible, because attitude is going to change. That is going to be the driving factor in future. Attitude to adopt a new environment, new technology, collaborate with people, that's going to be the key aspect of it. Your learning ability, all that is connected to your attitude. If you have a good attitude, you can surpass any technological change, any, you can say, environment change, and still be able to be happy and survive and thrive. I think that is my perspective in the future coming, you can say, requirements.
I think I'll go after what Dr. Shivani said because it's a lot related. And since we're talking about the talent playbook, I think what we need to do now is to remove the oldest page in the talent playbook, which says that resumes are important. I said this before because today AI is creating job descriptions and AI is also creating those resumes, right? So I think what we need to go after is skills. We need to identify the right skills of the people, and we need to identify what humanness that they bring to the table. That's something that you need to bring to the forefront rather than look at resumes. So yeah.
Beautifully said.
I have a question on that. Are job descriptions relevant?
No.
Another podcast for that, perhaps.
Yes.
Yes.
I would just add to that, but it has a smallest shelf life one can think about.
Yeah. True that. Yes, Sushma.
I can add to what
Ramesh.
panelists.
Yes.
Yeah, I can just add to what already panelists has said. Right, two thoughts. One, I think experiment and learn fast, and we shouldn't penalize for our failures. Rather, we learn from our mistakes and move on in this world of ambiguity. Second thing, I think, yeah, we spoke about attitude, learning, and all, but learning again, I think we shouldn't look at it as an event. Rather, I think it should be a process that we should be adopting throughout our career. So I think these are the two things that I would call out.
Lovely. Thank you, Sushma.
I think
Ramesh.
from my end, I think we're talking about skills, upskilling, AI, acquiring skills, and so on. I would just like to highlight that the fundamentals are not going anywhere, right? So, from an AI perspective, if we really don't understand how the systems work, so we'll not be able to function. So, I would say the fundamentals of science, technology, engineering, and maths is not going anywhere. So, unless your fundamentals are really good, you'll not be really able to function in AI. That's the first thing. And secondly, from a leadership perspective, I would say leave the door open. Now, what do I really mean by leave the door open? Is we have a lot of these younger generation folks that I meet, college pass outs, graduates, and so on. A lot of them tell me that they are not able to get opportunities. Everybody is asking for 2 to 3 years experience and so on. And where will they get the experience if they're not getting the opportunities, right? So I think we need to build a culture, and as leaders, if it's possible, to leave the door open based on judging the attitude, judging the potential, and the real skills that they have. I think the younger generation will be far more happy. They'll be able to get a better opportunity. They'll be able to share a lot of ideas, which I'm sure will help in terms of innovation and other things. So, if at all you're in a leadership position, and if you're able to leave the door open for the younger folks or the younger graduations, like I said, let's retire the notion of experience and allow the younger generation some opportunity so that they are able to come in and contribute. I would close on that remark.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has by far been my longest podcast. So really appreciate all of you joining in, sharing your perspective, not just for your expertise, but for honestly doing that, and for pulling back the curtain on what most leadership conversations leave out. What we explored today wasn't just about talent, tech, or transformation. It was about tension. Tension between doing more and feeling less, between driving outcomes and losing ourselves in the process, and between being future ready and staying emotionally alive. This wasn't a roundtable, it was a roadmap. It was a reckoning, a reminder that skill isn't enough, that reskilling without reflection is just noise, and that strategy without soul is what's leaving so many leaders burnt out, detached, and quietly wondering, am I still doing work that matters? If you have ever asked yourself that, this conversation was for you. To those leading, whether you're in HR or any domain for that matter, the next capability plan, a technologist leading change, or a mid career professional navigating the fog that we are all experiencing these days, I hope this offered you something deeper than answers. Maybe a pause, maybe a provocation, maybe the permission to rewrite what leadership can feel alike. Because the future of work isn't about automation, it's not about AI, it's not about analytics, it's about attention. It's about what we choose to build within before we build what's next. If this episode stirred something in you, please do share it with a colleague, with a leader, with a friend who's silently wondering if they're falling behind. And because maybe they don't need another course, maybe they just need to hear that you're not alone. Until next time, stay human, stay curious, and keep listening in to the journey to the future. Thank you.
I'd like to thank, on behalf of TechRight, each one of you for being part of this panel and the celebrations. My sincere gratitude, and I really appreciate your value. Thank you so much. And special thanks to Gopal for hosting this, and special thanks to Career Shifts podcast for hosting this roundtable discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much. Thank you
thanks
so
to
much.
Neeraj also for getting us together. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Yes.
Thank you.